I'm so close to her right now, but I've never felt so distant. I hate it. I'm worried about you. Don't, she says as she turns her head away from me. When was the last time you've eaten? Ryan, don't. Just say what you need to say. Reaching out to take her hand, she yanks it away from me. God, this is bad. Needing to get through to her, needing her to know, I just start talking, pleading. I love you. I know you don't believe me, but I do. No one has ever affected me the way you do, babe. I swear to you. I swear I didn't know. I didn't, Candace. Not at first. I tell her when I start to choke up, and I just let it out. I let all the tears fall that I've been holding in because I feel like I'm losing everything I am at this point. She's all I have ever wanted in this life, and I'm losing her. When I saw you at the coffee shop, I thought it was you. I thought you were that girl. I tell her, nearly crying out the words because they hurt so much. But then I kept thinking, what are the chances? I didn't know because you looked so different from that night, and then I found out that you were friends with Mark. Every time I saw you, I felt myself being drawn to you in a way I've never felt before. I had myself convinced that my head was playing games with me, and I honestly did not think you were that girl. It wasn't until I saw your tattoo when we were in bed. That's when I knew. When I found that girl, I saw her tattoo, your tattoo. Ryan, please, she begs, but I can't stop. She needs to hear this because I'm starting to wonder if I'll ever get this chance again. She's trying to shut me out, so I continue. When I saw it, I broke. I didn't want you to be her. I had already fallen so hard in love with you, and realizing that it was you fucking killed me. I explain through my tears as she sits there crying with me. Everything started making sense to me. How scared you always were with me when we first met, how afraid you were when I tried to touch you. Everything made sense, but I didn't know how to tell you. And then you told me you loved me, and I know how hard that was for you. I just couldn't hurt you. But you did, she sobs out. You lied to me. I let you see all the parts of me that weren't pretty, but you knew all along, and when I finally opened up to you, you already knew. She drops her head and begins to cry harder when she says, You let me give everything to you. You had to have known that you couldn't hold on to that secret forever. I would have eventually found out, and you still let me fall for you like I did. I feel so stupid and used. Like you just felt sorry for me or pitied me. I never pitied you, babe. I have only ever loved you. I just didn't want to hurt you. When I try pulling her into my arms to hold her, she shoves me back and gets up from the couch, stepping away from me. I can't do this. You can't say those things to me, she says. Walking toward her, I stop right in front of her and confess. I know I fucked up. I fucked everything up so bad. I know all you wanted was someone you could trust. I wanted to be that for you, and I fucked it all up. But I didn't know what to say. I was scared. You'll never know how fucking sorry I am. I knew better. I knew I shouldn't have let you in like I did, but I can't see you anymore. You have to stop calling and texting, she says, her words tearing me apart as she continues. I need you to just not exist for me because I can't do this. It hurts more than I thought anything possibly could. Candace, please, I beg. I can't fucking do this. I can't not have her in my life. Just go. I see it. See, she means what she's saying, but I can't move. I don't know how I'm going to turn and walk away from her. So I stand here, a broken man, in front of the only girl I've ever given my heart to, and I cry. Please, you have to go. I can't do this, she pleads. You have to know how much I love you, Closing her eyes, she whispers, "Please, Ryan." I wait for her to open her eyes, but she doesn't. I'm always gonna want her, but reality hits me like a brick. It's over. I've never felt pain like this before. It's one thing to get the shit beat out of you by a man you don't even like, but it's another thing entirely when the person you love the most in this world doesn't even want to look at you. I'd go back and take 1,000 more beatings just to have her open her eyes and look at me. But she doesn't, and I can't bear the agony, so I take one last look and absorb everything I can before I turn away from everything I never wanted to. She gave it all to me, and now I leave it behind as I walk out of her house. The finality of what just happened starts to sink in as I drive home. How is this over? Ending faster than it began. I'm not sure what else I could have said to save what we had. I would have kept her forever if she would have let me. But it's done. And I'm not sure where I go from here. In my head, I've been thinking that I was going to give it all up for her, move to wherever she was going. Maybe I was just in too deep. There's a black van parked in front of my place when I get home, and as I'm getting out of my car, I see a guy opening the back doors and pulling out a large wrapped item. Walking toward him, he asks, "Mr. Campbell?" "Yeah, what's this?" "I have a delivery from ThinkSpace Art Gallery for you." Her photo. "Would you like me to carry it up?" "No," I tell him as I reach out to take the piece, which is covered in a brown paper wrap. "You sure?" "Yeah, I've got it, thanks." Before getting into his van, he turns and says, "It's a beautiful piece, sir. Enjoy." I watch as he drives away, but I don't think I could ever look at this photo, her photo. How could I enjoy something that has been torn to shreds because of me? Carrying the canvas upstairs, I lean it against the wall as I go to the kitchen to get a beer. Popping the cap, I turn and rest my back on the counter and look at it, just sitting there, masking away my happiness, knowing that she's underneath the paper. But being the masochist that I am, I need to see her. I set the bottle down and rip the paper off, revealing the white line of her back. As I step away, I keep my eyes on her smooth skin. Nothing ever felt better on me, and the thought of never having that comfort again makes seeing her painful. It's tearing out my fucking heart, and I need it gone. Picking it up, I take it upstairs to my bedroom and into the closet, where I shove it behind one of the racks of clothes. I hide it because I don't want to look at it, but I don't want to let it go either. The memories of that day start to run through my head. That rainy afternoon with her in my bed. She was jittery, lying in the dark while I snapped her picture. She trusted me, but now that trust is gone, and she can't even look at me. I just want to touch her, have her lips on mine, her body warm against me. She was so good at everything she was willing to give. I took it all, and no amount of pain could make me believe that it wasn't worth the fall, because falling in love with her was the best thing I ever did. Chapter 41. Sitting here, nursing my beer that has now grown warm, I watch as Gavin talks to some blonde who's wearing way too much makeup. I want to leave, but I don't want to go back home. Home and work. Those are the only places I seem to find myself lately. But that's all it was before Candace, so why should I expect it to be any different after her? It feels different, but the routine is the same. I work, I go out with Gavin, and I go home. Alone. I'm always alone. There was a time not too long ago that I liked it. Now, I hate it. So even though I sit here, miserable and bored in this bar, it's better than being alone. Gavin keeps trying to sling girls at me, but the thought of touching anyone other than Candace is something that I just can't stomach yet. A part of me wants to, desperate to do anything to get her out of my head, but then I get scared of losing her, even if my head is the only place she exists for me. I'm torn, lonely but unwilling to walk away from the girl who doesn't want me. Another chick approaches, and as soon as she lays her hand on my knee, I'm out of my seat and walking away to get another drink from the bar. "Can I get another?" I ask the bartender as I set down my bottle. "I don't understand why you keep coming out if you're just gonna be a dick," Gavin says when he slides up next to me at the bar. Looking over at him, I ask, "Who am I being a dick to?" "This place is loaded with chicks, but you're the biggest pussy in here." "Nice," I say as I laugh with annoyance. He turns to lean his side against the bar and gives me a serious look before saying, "She's gone, man." When the guy from behind the bar hands me my beer, I take a long draw, but it hurts to swallow past the lump in my throat that reared itself at the mere mention of her. Setting the bottle down, I turn and say with irritation, "Yeah? And what if I don't want her to be?" He sighs when he responds in a matter-of-fact voice, "It doesn't seem to be about what you want. She holds the cards on this one because you handed over that power when you fell for her." He's right. I've always called the shots with chicks until Candace. It sucks to have someone else dictating your destiny. But with her, I wouldn't have it any other way. If this is what she needs, to be away from me, then I'll stay away. "You want to know what's going to make you feel better? Make you forget?" he asks me. "What's that?" He lifts his arm, beer in hand, and points over the crowd of people as he says, "Take your pick." When he turns to look at me, he gives a smirk and adds, "Just like old times." I might not know what my life is right now, but I do know that it isn't this. It vanished when I met Candace. She made me see this for what it is. She showed me a different version of myself, a version that I was happy to be. So this is nothing but a distraction that I no longer want. Before taking a sip of his beer, he mutters, "I never understood what you saw in her anyway. What's your problem?" "Nothing. Just being honest. She was just so different than your normal type. I didn't get it." Tossing a few bucks on the bar, I get up and tell Gavin, I'm going home. "Ryan," he calls out as I make my way to the door, but there's nothing here for me. Who am I kidding? No matter where I am, my misery follows. So I might as well be home. When I was hanging out with Jace the other night, he told me about his plans to go over to Westport for a day trip to get some surfing in. Needing the headspace, I decided to tag along. He met me at my place earlier this morning, and after several hours of driving, we unload my Jeep and zip up our wetsuits before heading out into the water. For the first time in a while, I feel good. If only for a moment, being out here in the water, my head finally settles as I simply enjoy the breaking waves as I ride them. The salt on my face and the sun that's starting to break through the clouds is freeing in a way. Being out of Seattle and away from the gloom that seems to follow, I take a break as I straddle my board and stare out over the endless water. "The breaks are pretty decent today," Jace says as he paddles over to me. "Yeah, the tide is starting to come in." Shifting himself to sit up on his board, he asks, "You doing okay?" I nod my head. but I know he isn't just talking about surfing, and curiosity gets to me when I decide to ask because I just can't avoid it. No matter what she says or what she does, I can't forget about her. I can't stop caring about her. So I go ahead and ask. How is she? Running his hands through his hair, he says, She's better. Yeah? She started seeing a therapist a couple weeks ago, he tells me. She's been going a couple times a week. That's good. It relieves me to hear that she's finally talking to someone, but at the same time, it's hard to not be there to support her. Yeah, she's been working really hard, trying to sort everything out. When I don't respond, he questions, What about you? I don't know, man. I'm fucking stuck. Like, I'm just waiting for something I'm not sure is gonna happen. With her? Nodding my head, I ask hesitantly, Should I be? Waiting? He questions. Yeah. Looking out over the water, avoiding having to face me, he breathes out, I don't think so. It's the reality I've been trying to hide from. I've been hanging on to a thread of hope, but hearing those words from Jace, they hold an honesty that there's no more hiding from. She's working hard on pulling herself together to make sense of the madness she's been living in. Maybe you should do more for yourself too. I hate to see you stagnant, waiting for something that doesn't seem likely to happen at this point. I hear his words, and they're hard to take. I don't want to accept them, but he makes it clear what I should do when he adds a hard truth to my reality, saying, I think it's time you just walk away from it. She seems to have. How do you walk away from someone that still occupies so much of your heart? To be so certain about something just to turn your back on it? And how can she move on so quickly when I'm still in pieces over here? It sucks to have all these questions that I can't get any closure with, to constantly be wondering and hoping. I've tried talking to her, tried telling her how you feel about everything, but she shuts me down. She said she just needs to be on her own. No, I get it, I mumble. You don't need to say anything to her. If she's happy, that's all I've ever wanted for her. Sorry, man. It's life, I say as I lie down on my board and paddle back out. So, I'm planning on leaving here next Friday morning, my mom tells me as I sit in my office at home. Mom, I don't know if that's a good idea. It's your birthday, she exclaims, but we both know that's not her reasoning for wanting to come. You never drive up here for my birthday. I know you're coming to see Candace dance, but I just don't know if that's a good idea at this point. I told her I was going to be there. I would feel awful if I didn't show up. This is a huge night for her, and I've never seen her dance. Her family turned their backs on her. I'm not going to do the same. I want to support her. No matter what happens with you guys, I'd like to at least offer my support. Nothing's going to happen with us, Mom, I tell her as I shut the lid to my laptop. How do you know that? Jace told me last week that she's done, and I should just walk away. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm sorry, dear. I know you love her. Having her so close, blending so nicely with my mom and me, it was perfect. It's something that I don't think I'll be able to find again. Something I'm not sure I want to open myself up to again. You still there? She asks when I don't say anything. Yeah, I'm here. Are you okay? Taking a hard swallow, I admit, I don't know how to be okay. I don't know how she's moving on when I can't. Maybe she isn't. Maybe she's hurting just like you are. Then why isn't she coming back? I ask as my voice slips. She could just be scared. It's been over a month, and I want to run to her every day, but I know if I do, I'll only be hurting her. She lives right down the fucking street from me, but it's like she's across the world. My mother is at a loss for words, so I cut the conversation short, not wanting to talk anymore. But as soon as we hang up, Tori's name flashes on my phone when it starts ringing again. Hey, Tor. Hey, how are you? I talked to Aunt Donna earlier today. Why didn't you tell me about what happened? There's not much to talk about, I clip out. Well, what happened? Leaning back in my chair, I say, You were right. I wasn't honest with her and fucked everything up. What did you lie about? It doesn't matter. I kept something from her that I shouldn't have, and it's done. I'm tired and just need to blow this off so she doesn't keep me on the phone. Look, it was over a month ago, so there's not much to say about it. Moving on. Got it, she responds. You coming back here for Memorial Day weekend? Maybe. Haven't thought about it. But hey, I'm gonna hit the sack, so I'll talk to you later. I tell her so I can hang up. I'm about to throw the damn phone across the room when it starts ringing again, but this time, when I answer it, all I hear on the other end is panic. Ryan? Hey, Max, what's going on? Tracy's in labor. We're heading to the hospital. His voice is rushed, and I can't help but laugh at the fear in him. So why are you calling me? Shouldn't you be driving? I ask with a chuckle. Because I know when I get there, it's going to be us and her crazy-ass sisters driving me insane. You better watch it, I hear Tracy bark at him in the background. Dude. Okay, I'll admit, I'm scared shitless, he tells me when Tracy butts in saying, You're scared? Are you serious? I'm the one about to have a baby here, and you're on the phone with your buddy because you're scared? Shit, you've got your hands full. I laugh, and the next thing I hear is Tracy as she says, Ryan, you there? Hey, Trace. Tell your buddy to calm the hell down and stop being a pansy. The dramatics of this late-night call are cracking me up, and I do not envy Max with having his girl fed up with him. The phone muffles and Max says, You coming to the hospital? You need to relax before Tracy rips your head off, but yeah, I'll be there. Seeing Max with a baby is a head trip for me. Tracy went into labor quickly, and by the time they made it to the hospital, it was too late for her to get any drugs, so now Max has some god-awful scratches on his arms where she took her pain out on him. But in the end, they have a healthy baby boy. The sheer happiness splayed across his face is something that any man would envy. Max is content, and I couldn't be happier for him. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't panged with a slight sense of jealousy. I never thought that settling down and having a family was in the cards for me. But with Candace, I was starting to believe that it could be a possibility. So in my attempt to move on, I hold his baby in my arms and shut my selfish emotions out as I sit here with one of my good friends as he gushes over his new son. Chapter 42. How was your drive? Long, my mom says as she hugs me. It's good to see you. Come in, I tell her as I take her bag and set it against the wall. Max called a little while ago. He said that Tracy is feeding Bennett, and now would be a good time to come over, so if you still wanted to see the baby, we should head out. Of course I want to see the baby. Grabbing my keys, we leave and make the drive over to Max's place. My mother has gotten to know Max a little over the years, and she never passes up an opportunity to hold a baby. So when we arrive, she melts at the sight of Bennett. We settle ourselves in the living room, and Mom doesn't even wait for me to introduce her to Tracy. She is already sitting next to her, making her own introductions, and before I know it, they're chatting away. My mom just has this way about her that can put anyone at ease. Candace loved that about her. "So, what's been going on?" Max asks as he flops down on the chair. "Just covering for you every day," I tease. "Haha, nice, man." "Got another band booked?" "Yeah, that's good." "So what's going on with Mark and the guys?" he asks, and I'm momentarily distracted when I hear my mom talking gibberish to the baby. Shaking my head and laughing at her, I turn back to Max and tell him, "They're going to alternate Saturdays with the new band for the next 4 weeks, and then their contract is up." "Is he staying here in Seattle?" "Yeah, he and Jace had a few interviews at some firms in the city," I tell him. "Nice." "How have you been? You look like shit." "Dude, this kid wakes up to eat every 2 hours. When we first brought him home, he slept solid for the first few days, but now he's up around the clock." "Sounds great," I joke when I turn to Tracy and ask, "So how's this guy really holding up?" I laugh as I nod to Max. She shakes her head and teases, "For such a big guy, you wouldn't think he'd be so squeamish." "Don't listen to her. I've got this completely under control," he defends with a smile. "Oh, my goodness," my mother squeals as we all turn to look at Bennett when he lets out a massive fart. "Holy shit!" I crack up, nearly doubling over at the insane gas that baby just released. "Ryan," my mom scolds, "don't cuss in front of the baby." "Are you serious, Mom? He's barely a week old. Little dude doesn't even speak English." I laugh out as she rolls her eyes at me. "Speaking of having everything under control," Tracy says to Max as she picks up Bennett and hands him over, "why don't you take care of this issue your son has in his pants?" "You think you're funny, don't you?" She pats him on the back and mocks. "Try to control the gagging this time, huh?" He plants a kiss on Tracy's nose, and I follow him back to the nursery. I take a front row seat in the rocker as Max lays Bennett on the changing table. "Dear Jesus," he says in utter disgust when he peels the diaper off, and it only takes a second for the stench to hit me. "Oh, what the hell is that?" Before Max can say anything, the baby rips out another rancid fart. "For the love of God," Max says, and I have to clutch my stomach because I'm laughing so hard at the visual of him being taken down by his own baby, one fart after another. Max tries holding on to his tiny ankles when he farts again. "Dude," he snaps at me. "He's shitting everywhere. Tracy!" "Oh my God," I laugh out. "I'm dying." "You're dying. This shit's right in front of my face." "What is going on in here?" Tracy exclaims when she walks in. "Honey, there's poop all over me." "You boys are ridiculous," my mom says when she takes Max's place and starts cleaning Bennett. "Donna, let me take care of that," Tracy says. "No worries. You go sit and relax," she tells her. "And you boys get out of here." She scolds as if we're kids and not grown men. Once Bennett is cleaned up and changed, my mom returns to the living room and lays him on the couch between her and Tracy. As she's rubbing his belly, Tracy kicks her feet up on the ottoman and leans back into the couch, laughing. "What's so funny?" Max asks when he returns with a clean shirt. "You." "Why is it that every time I change him, it winds up in a fiasco, but when you do it, it's just a simple pee diaper?" Payback for me having to be pregnant. We continue to hang out, and when Bennett falls asleep, we say goodbye and head out. I've been anxious all day, knowing that tonight is Candace's production. I feel weird about going, almost like some kind of voyeur, but I couldn't miss seeing her dance on stage. I have only seen her in a couple of videos she had once shown me. The whole time we were together, she was preparing for this night, so to finally have it here is bittersweet because I always thought I would be there with her. I should have wrapped her legs up last night in her crazy saran wrap. I should have been watching her walk around my loft all day, a neurotic, nervous mess, helping her stretch and rub out her calves that had been bothering her, staring at her while she stood in the bathroom as she put her hair up in a bun with all those tiny hairpins. This day should have been completely different. Instead, I've been walking around with a knot in my stomach. I haven't seen her in a long time, and I'm not sure how tonight is going to affect me, but I have to see her. You ready? My mom asks when she walks down the hall. Why don't you go on without me? I suggest. I just think I should be alone tonight when I go. It's definitely not something I want to do with my mother right next to me. Without a single question, she walks over and runs her hand down my arm as I stand, leaning up against the windows in the living room. Of course. When she turns to walk out, I stop her and say, Mom. Yes? You look really nice. Thanks, dear. I'll see you later. Leaning back against the windows, I look out at the darkened night sky and decide that after tonight, I have to be done. I can't keep questioning and wishing things were different. They aren't. And enough time has passed to know that she isn't coming back. When I arrive at Meany Theater, almost everyone is already in their seats, quietly holding their personal conversations. The theater is large with seating up in the balcony. The curtain is dropped, and I look at the program to see which number she will be in. She's one of the 2 featured dancers, so she'll appear throughout the night. I feel so disconnected, even though we are probably closer tonight than we've been in a while, knowing she's in the same building as me. She's in the opening number, so I quietly stand in the back of the room when the curtain draws up. The stage is filled with girls who all look the same, hair pinned up, short white tutus. It isn't until after the music has already started that I see her. God, she's beautiful. She's the only one wearing purple, standing out from all the others as she dances in front of the other girls. I've only ever seen her in leotards and tattered warm-ups. Never like this. She fits the part perfectly, stoic and polished, graceful and soft. And even on a stage filled with other dancers, she's all my eyes can see, captivating me in a way that only she can do. No one else exists in this room right now. It's only her. But it isn't until her solo when it hits me. She stands center stage as the curtain goes up, and chills prick along my arms. She's perfection, wearing black with a short, full tutu, pale pink tights, and her pink toe shoes. Her skin is a striking contrast to the black, and she looks amazing. She isn't someone you simply look at. She's someone you admire. I know her music by heart from all the times she played it at my place. It's a dark and intense piece that she struggled with for so long. But watching her work the whole stage, she's nothing but a natural as she bears her heart up there, making me feel the haunting pain of the piece. She gives it all, up on her toes, gliding through her movements. It almost hurts to look at her because I know this will be the last time I will probably ever see her. I can't take my eyes off her. I don't ever want to. I'd hide back here forever if it meant I wouldn't have to stop looking at her. As tiny as she is, she made the biggest impact on me. I've never loved as hard as I did with her. I don't know how anyone could ever love her more. With everything we went through to get to the point we were at, knitted so tightly together, I never thought there could be a possibility of us unraveling like we did. But we did. I don't blame her, though. She hasn't made a wrong choice yet. I know she left me because it was the best thing for her. I talk to Jace often about her, and knowing how hard she's working in therapy, I know she wouldn't be doing that if she were still with me. She needed to be on her own, to do it for herself and not just because it was something I wanted. I'm proud of her, even though it hurts me. I know she's doing everything right to try and pull herself out of the darkness that was consuming her. The crowd is deafening when the music stops, and I finally see it. Her big, gorgeous smile with that cute dimple in her cheek. She soaks up the standing ovation, as she should, because she deserves every second of this. She's elated. I can see it in her eyes, even from this far away. Her instructor walks out with a huge bouquet of roses and hands them to her as she takes her final curtsy before the curtain drops, taking her away from me. The pain hits hard as I blink back the tears. I'll never want to see her any other way than what I just did. That's the image I want in my mind. My girl, not a tormented thought in her head. Happy, free, and on top of the world, filled with nothing but joy. She has a couple more numbers to dance, but I take what I just saw because nothing could possibly be better. She gave me perfection, and I decide to leave it with that as I walk out, leaving a huge piece of my heart in that theater. And now I start over because I can't look back. She's happy, and I have to be content with that, no matter how much I wish I could be a part of it. I wake up the following morning to the smell of bacon and eggs. I lie in bed for a while before getting up to see my mom in the kitchen, fixing us omelets. There you are. I was starting to wonder when you would drag yourself down here, she says as she stands over the stove. Sorry, I didn't get much sleep last night. I respond as I walk over to fix myself a cup of coffee. Wait, before you do that, you should open your birthday gift, she says with a smile as she nods her head to the dining table where a large box sits, wrapped in gold paper with burgundy ribbon. Tearing the paper, I note the store name on the box and question, Sur la table? Just open it, she says as she fixes our plates. Opening the box, I pull out the DeLonghi cappuccino machine. This is perfect, Mom. Yeah, I figured you'd get good use out of it, she says as she walks past me and sets our plates down on the table. It'll give me something to do today, figuring out how to use the damn thing, I joke as I sit down. Happy 29th birthday, darling. Thanks. As we start eating breakfast, she looks up and says, So, I never saw you last night. Yeah, I crashed early. Sorry about that. After I left, I was too upset to even think about seeing my mom, so I spent the evening upstairs. Did you go? She asks. I went. Do you want to talk about this? Nope. I get up and walk into the kitchen to fix my coffee, and when I return to the table, I tell her, It's done with, Mom. I'm walking away, so there's no point in ever bringing her up again. Nodding her head, she responds, Of course, dear. But I'm not completely walking away because her canvas is still in my closet, and a bottle of her perfume still sits on her side of the sink. It's pathetic, but even though I know I should, I'm not entirely ready to let her completely go just yet. Another week passes, And while I'm cleaning up my home office, I come across the sheet of paper where Candace wrote down the information for the woman we met at the gallery showing. It's funny that I should run across this now, because this past week, I started working more on some of the photos that were stored on my camera. Albeit photos of Candace, but the thought of trying to find someone else to photograph turns my stomach. Needing to step out of the monotonous routine I have going, I pick up the phone and give this lady a call. She once mentioned being interested in seeing more of my pieces, so why not? Henry Gallery. Is Stacy Keats available? I ask. One moment. The line is picked up after a few seconds. Stacy here. Stacy, this is Ryan Campbell. We met at ThinkSpace a few months back. Yes, I remember. Nubile, right? Right. What can I do for you? I have a few pieces that I've been working on, and if you were still interested in taking a look, I say, I'd love to. My time is a bit limited, and I'm about to go on vacation, but I'm free this afternoon if that isn't too soon. No, that works for me. Great. How about 3 o'clock? Sounds good, Stacy. I'll see you then. After running up to the bar for a few hours, I head over to the Henry Gallery. Sitting down in Stacy's office, she says, I'm glad you called. We actually just had 2 wall openings become available yesterday. I hand over my samplings, and while she studies them, she keeps her eyes down as she casually says, Your girlfriend was brilliant last week. You must be so proud of her, huh? She says this, not having a clue that we're no longer together, but for the moment, it feels good, so I don't correct her, saying, Yeah, she's amazing. She's more than amazing. Sergei has always considered her a prodigy, she says as she flips to the next photo. Has she gotten many job offers? I don't really know, I answer honestly, and when she looks up, she says, Well, I have no doubt that she's going to have quite a few companies to choose from. I'm sure she will. And these, she continues as she takes her sleek glasses off and sets them on her desk, these are really beautiful. Thank you. Are you being displayed anywhere else at the moment? She questions. No, didn't really think all too seriously about pursuing anything with these photos until the past week, to be honest. Well, I'd be interested in these 2, if you'd like to discuss further, she tells me as she sets 2 of the samples aside and stacks the rest. Are you optioning a sale? No, I won't sell these, I respond. All these photos are of Candace, and I don't want any of them hanging in some random person's home. They're mine. Well then, let me look at something really quick, she says as she starts clicking away on her laptop. I can do a 6-week spot showing. It's a good slot because they will be on display during one of our invite-only showings next month. You'll have a lot of eyes on these that could help jumpstart some work, if that's a direction you'd like to go. That sounds great. Perfect, then. Let me go grab all the necessary paperwork, and we can get everything secured for you right now. Feeling like I've been needing to do something different, have a little more focus, this couldn't have come at a better time. Although I would never sell these particular photos, I'd love to have an opportunity to expand this and possibly take on some work. So we spend the next half hour getting everything set up before I head out, feeling good about this new door that could be opening for me. Chapter 43. After Stacy selected the 2 pieces for display a few days ago, I went to have them canvassed and just got back home from dropping them off at the gallery. The wall had already been prepped, and they should be up by tomorrow. It's a good feeling to be doing something that will hopefully bring me some opportunities. When I start heading back to my office, there's a knock on the door. Are you Ryan Campbell? A guy questions when I answer. Yeah? He hands over some papers and says, I've got some legal documents here for you. Are you active military? No. Okay. Well, there's no signature required. Have a good day, he tells me before walking down the stairs. Closing the door, I unfold the papers to find that I've just been served a subpoena, and when I see who the plaintiff is, anger that I haven't felt in a while kicks up. This fucker has a lot of nerve, and I'm about to put an end to this shit, pulling out my phone and calling Jace, who's out of town with Mark right now. Hey, Ryan, what's up? I need to know where I can find Jack, I demand. What? He asks as I take him off guard. I just got served a subpoena, man. Tell me, or I'll just get on the computer and find him myself. What are you gonna do? What should have been done months ago, I tell him as my annoyance builds inside of me. Don't make me ask again, I nearly threaten. Jace huffs out a hard breath before responding. He lives at the frat. Which one? The Lambda House on 19th. I hang up without saying anything else and grab my keys. My heart is racing when I pull up in front of the large brick house. There aren't many cars around, and with classes over for the summer, everything is in my favor when I knock, and he's the one that answers. The preppy son of a bitch stands there in his white polo as my fist clenches around the court documents in my hand. Looking at his face, you can still see the slight grayish-yellow bruising around his nose and muted pink rings under his eyes where I beat the shit out of him nearly 2 months ago. There is no doubt that I seriously fucked this guy up. His eyes are wide as he looks at me in shock, and I don't say a word when I push my way inside, kicking the door shut before I fist his shirt and slam him up against the wall, pinning him with my forearms square across his neck. I'm seething, and the fear in his eyes is prominent. Candace Parker, you know her? I grit out in pure hate, my muscles tense as I keep him locked against the wall. He doesn't speak as all the blood drains from his face at the mere mention of her name. Yeah, you know her. Backing my weight off, I slam my arm into him again, causing his head to pound against the wall. You're lucky I didn't fucking kill you at the bar. Dude! He faintly gasps out in distress, and his voice just adds to my rage. Don't think that I'm not still considering it, because I'll kill you with my bare hands, and there's not a goddamn thing you can do to stop me, because I know you don't want your dirty secret being exposed. I don't know what that bitch told you, but I didn't do shit, he spits at me, slamming him down to the ground, head smacking hard against the wooden floor. I grip his neck in my hand, yelling, I was fucking there, you sack of shit. Who do you think beat your ass that night? I know everything you did to her, and there's a rape kit with your DNA all over it, so tell me again that you didn't do shit. Before he can respond, I pull back and hammer my fist into his nose as he screams out, blood running down his face. Don't worry, I'm not gonna kill you. But I am gonna let you go through your life every day wondering if that's going to be the day that I show up, because I'll never let what you did to her go. So you can live your life in fear just like she does every day, you piece of shit. Striking my fist into his jaw, I stand and pick up the papers that I dropped. I step back over to him as he lies there, curled up in agony, and lean over as I smack the papers on the ground next to his face, telling him, You're going to drop these charges today and fuck off. My veins are on fire with vengeance, and knowing that I've got him by the balls on this, I ram my booted foot into his smug-ass face, listening to him heave in pain as I walk out. All my emotions about Candace that I've pushed down these past couple weeks flood back in a matter of seconds. I could kill that fucker, but it still would never feel like enough, because even after all this time apart, the hard truth is, I still love her with every part of me, She's moved on, and I have been trying to do the same, but here I am, back in this. Driving home, fueled by rage laced with sadness, I crack. I've never hated a single thing more than I hate that sick fuck for what he did to my girl, for what he did to us. I lost it all because he's the one that gave me the secret that I held from her. He's the one that inflicted himself on our relationship that no longer is. Without even trying, he continues to cause chaos in our lives. After spending a good chunk of the day taking my lingering aggravation out at the gym, I'm finally able to settle my nerves and calm down. I have no doubt that the charges will be dropped, so I'll give it a few days before calling to make sure there isn't anything pending against me. I've been trying to keep my mind occupied with anything other than Candace and what happened this morning, so when I'm completely burnt out from watching TV, I head upstairs to get ready for bed. It's after 1 a.m. when I hear a knock on my door after brushing my teeth. When I make my way down, I peek out the windows to see who could be here this late, but there's no car in the drive as the rain pours down. I unlock the door, and I swear to God, the whole world stops moving when I open it to see Candace. In an instant, she begins crying and falls into my arms. She's soaking wet from the rain, and I know she had to have walked here. For this moment, I lose my breath in her as I feel the warmth I thought I would never feel again, a warmth that only she can give me. She clings to me as she cries, and I break for her, not knowing what to say because I'm afraid if I speak, she'll leave. She's here, and all I want to do is make sure that she stays. God, just stay. Reaching down, I slip my arm behind her knees and scoop her up into my arms as I carry her inside. She keeps her head tucked into me, and I've missed this so much. Even with her hurting, for whatever reason, I miss it. The touch, the feel of her skin, the smell of her hair. I have it all wrapped up in my arms, and it's where I want to keep it. I sit us down on the couch with her still in my lap, and I keep my arms tightly banded around her because I just can't let her go. I listen to her sobs as they begin to soften into whimpers, feeling the soft quakes of her body as she takes in tiny gasps of air. "Baby, what happened?" I finally ask, and when she lifts her head and stares into my eyes, I fall for her all over again. It's in my heart, the heavy-weighted emotion that's nothing but the love I have for this beautiful girl. Needing to touch her, I reach up and run my fingers down the soft skin of her cheek. "Jack died tonight." What did she just say? Suddenly, my heavy heart takes on a pounding as questions brew inside. What the hell happened after I saw him this morning? Fuck! Did I do it? Did I kick him too hard in the head? I could have easily killed him. Panic shoots through me, cold like ice, but the sudden rush of fear is diminished when she says, "Kimber called and told me that he died in a car crash earlier today. Drunk driving accident or something." A hard breath thuds out of my chest. Relief. Maybe I'm sick, but there's not a single piece of me that feels bad about this. But her? She's so upset, and I have to wonder where her head is at with this. She's so close in my arms, tears still streaking down her face, and when I rest my forehead against hers, greedy to take every touch I can, she begins to ramble, an emotional mess. "I'm sorry. I didn't know where to go. I'm so confused. I don't know what's wrong with me." "Slow down, babe." "Should I be happy or relieved?" she asks as she pulls her head back and looks at me, pleading for answers I don't have. "Well, what do you feel right now?" "Sad and hurt," she admits honestly before dropping her head and adding, "I don't know why. It's like all I can think about is Jack when he was good, or when I thought he was. But I know he wasn't. I know I should hate him. But if I'm sad, does that mean I don't hate him? Lifting her chin to look at me, I say, I think you're just in shock. I think you need a little time to sort this out in your head. She rests her head back on my shoulder, and I feel her body lightly shivering under my arms. Let me get you a towel. You're freezing. She slips off of my lap as I grab a couple of large towels from the guest bathroom, and when I return, I wrap one of them around her shoulders and then pull her back into my arms. You need anything to drink? She sits up, and I lose her touch as she clutches the towel around her, shaking her head no. I reach to touch her again and slowly pull her back against me. I'm selfish, but I don't care. I've missed her so much. No matter how hard I try to give up on her, I just can't. I bury it and keep myself busy enough to where I don't think about her. But she's always there, lying beneath, deep inside of me, where I'm starting to believe she will always be. It's like she's the other half of me, the half that would make life miserable if I didn't have it, so I've always kept it. It's not even a choice. Talk to me, I urge. I'm sorry. I didn't even realize I was here until I was in front of your door. I'm glad you're here, I tell her before I move to hold her face in my hands, trying to keep myself together when I let her know. I've missed you so much. My words hurt coming out of me, a confession that shouldn't be because she should just know, but I tell her anyway. The thought of her walking away from me now that I have her here in my home, in my hands, and so fucking deep in my heart makes it hard to breathe right now. But she gives me hope, a hope I thought was forever lost, when I look into her eyes that are rimmed red with tears and she touches me. She gives me her soft hand as she places it on my face and runs it down my jaw. And then she crumbles. With her eyes shut, she chokes on the sobs that break through. Baby, don't cry. Leaning in, I kiss her forehead, simply resting my lips against her. I need every second of this as I feel her coming back to me, until she pulls away, shaking her head, and then the knife strikes when she whispers, I can't. Babe, I can't. It hurts so bad. I just can't. I swear to you, I beg because that's all I have at this point. I will never hurt you again. But you swore you wouldn't hurt me before, and you did. Lowering my head to look her in the eyes straight on, I affirm, I love you. God, I love you so much. As I move in, holding her face in my hands, and gently graze my lips across hers, tasting the sweetest thing I've ever had. I'm moving, she breathes against my lips, and her words echo in my head. A painful reality that I knew would come, but to have it here when I finally have her is something I don't want to face. I shift back to look at her, not wanting to accept her words when she says, I got a job. I'm moving to New York in 2 weeks. Dropping my head, I feel the panic in me. The finality of this has never been more tangible than it is right now, and it's a sharp blade in my heart. A slow bleed that bears the agony of an unrelenting suffering. You can't kiss me, she says as a new slew of tears starts. If you do, I'll never want to leave you. Then I'll come with you. Ryan. I just can't. I'm too scared that you will hurt me again. I just need to be on my own. I've been working so hard to pull myself out of the hell I've been living in. I know you have. I ask Jace about you all the time. He told me how well you're doing. I just wish I could be around to see it, babe. I choke out around the knot in my throat that I can no longer fight as I drop my head and cry. Cry for what we once had. We were so good and happy, completely in love and bound together in a way I never thought two people could be. But we were, and I don't think something like that comes around too often. All I ever wanted was for you to be okay, to be happy, I tell her. I'm okay. She lets me hold on to her, so I do, scared to let go of her because I know what it means when I finally do, and it's a pain I'm not ready to feel. So I let time pass as I keep her tucked into me, her head nestled in the curve of my neck, the feel of her damp hair against my skin, the smell of her soft scent that filters into my lungs. My senses consumed with her, and then comes sound as she finally speaks. Do you think you could drive me home? Yeah, I whisper, wondering how you say goodbye to someone like her. But I find happiness in one thing, and that is, after all we have been through and all the time that has passed, she ran to me for the comfort that she needed. I let my tears fall as I drive her home, and with each glance over, I see her own stained face. My gut is in knots, and with my eyes on the road ahead, I ask, as desperate as a man could because I have nothing else. Tell me how to fight for you. Please, is her only response, spoken softly, pleading for me not to push anymore. When I pull up to her house, I turn to her and ask, Can I walk you in? Ryan. Nodding my head, I get it. I see the pain in her eyes, but when she turns to grab the handle, I give her my last attempt to let her know. I'll never love anyone the way that I loved you. She looks back at me, tears streaming, and she nods. Without words, I hear what she's telling me, and I hate that she's denying us something we both know is great. She feels my words too, and having the knowledge that she feels the same way about loving me makes this all the worse. With the click of the handle, she steps out as I hear her crying begin to crack through, and the sound is excruciating. And that's it. She's gone. Chapter 44. How is it that you're so good with Bennett? Tracy asks me as I lay him down on the floor on his blanket. Because for the past 5 years, my cousins have been pushing out babies, I tell her. Max returned to work this past week, and he wanted me to stop by and check on Tracy. He told me she was freaking out about being alone with the baby, so I decided to bring my camera along to take some photos of Bennett for her. Can you turn off the light? I just need the natural light right now. Yeah, sure, she says as she flips the light off. The sun is shining today, making it perfect for these pictures. Bennett is asleep as I adjust him before bringing the camera to my eye and taking a few shots, then moving him into a different pose. Thanks for doing this. No problem. I wasn't doing anything today, so I'm glad I have the distraction. I tell her because I feel like I just went back in time a few months, and I'm feeling the loss of Candace all over again. Max is worried about you, she says, and when I look up at her, I say, Is that so? Tilting her head at me, she adds, Yeah, that's so. Tell him I'm fine. Life is full of shit. It's nothing that I'm not used to. That's a depressing outlook. Sitting back on my heels, I scan through the photos I just took as I say, Not everybody gets what they want, Tracy. There's probably someone else out there that you're going to want more. You just haven't met her yet. I'm not sure about that. Ryan, Tracy says to get my attention as she sits on the floor next to Bennett and me. We've all lost someone we've loved, only to find that it wasn't as deep of a love as we had thought when we finally find the one. Is Max the one? She looks at her son and smiles when she says, Yeah. And there's never been a question or hesitation about it? Turning back to me, she tells me, "No." "And what about the others you thought you loved? Any hesitation there?" When she nods her head yes, I add, "That's the difference here. Never was there a question or hesitation. And she wasn't just someone I loved." She doesn't respond as I lie down next to Bennett with my camera to get some close-ups of his facial features. Tracy and I have gotten to know each other better since the baby came along, and I started spending more time over here at their house. At first, I was just trying to keep myself busy, but in the process, I've connected with Tracy, and Max and I have become closer as well. I have a good bond with Jace and even Mark, but it's hard to be around them at times because it only reminds me of how it used to be. But having this with two people that don't have that connection with Candace gives me a reprieve. I head up to the bar to give Max the prints of the photos I took of his son a few days ago, and when I walk in, I see Jace sitting at the bar talking to Mel. "Hey, Ryan, I didn't think you were coming in today," Mel says as I walk over to them. "I just needed to drop some stuff off with Max," I tell her, and then look at Jace asking, "How are you doing, man?" "Good, just waiting on Mark to get out of an interview." "How's all that going?" "I got a job offer yesterday, so I'm good to go. Just hoping that Mark gets this one because it's the firm he really wants," he tells me. "Congrats, man. That's great. So when do you start?" "Next week." Knowing that Candace should be moving soon, I ask because I guess I like to torture myself. "When does she move?" I don't even need to say her name when he tells me. "Friday morning." It's hard to imagine that she'll be in New York City, all alone, in 3 days. It's always been her dream to dance with the company that she signed on with, and I'm happy that she's doing this for her and no one else. It's something she's always wanted, and to have this opportunity in life, to see your dreams through, is an amazing thing, and I'm so proud of her. I honestly never thought she would ever move away like she is, all by herself. It's hard for me to imagine her in a place where she's okay to do this on her own, the girl that was always so scared of crowds and going out, timid and paranoid. I worry about her. "Can you do me a favor?" I ask. "Yeah?" "Are you taking her to the airport?" When he nods his head yes, I ask, "Will you give me a call when she's gone?" The pity in his eyes irritates me, but I expect it. There's no doubt that this girl makes me weak. She always has. She softened me up because she was so delicate, and I loved that about her, that she could do that to me. "You sure?" Jace asks. "I'm sure." "All right," he says as he stands up. "I gotta get going. Mark should be at my place soon." As he walks out, Mel comes back over after giving the two of us space to talk. "Mel," I sigh out on an exasperated breath, "you look like you need a drink. When did life get so damn depressing?" I ask her with a slight laugh. "You're asking me?" she responds as she hands me a beer. All I know is I'm over it. Her expression mirrors mine, and I know something is weighing on her. "Talk to me." The place is dead with it being early in the day, so she takes a seat next to me. "Zane wants a divorce," she tells me. "What?" She nods and says, "Yeah, I got the papers a few days ago." "Shit," I mutter. "I'm sorry." When she shrugs her shoulders, she tells me, "We just grew apart, you know. Maybe it was me. Music was always his life. I just never thought that he would make anything big out of it, so I never considered it an our path in life. But that's not the life I want." "So now what?" "I don't know," she mumbles. Taking a swig of my beer, I say, "Yeah, me neither." It's Friday, and I'm sitting around dreading the call that I asked for. Why do I do this shit to myself? I tried to keep busy by working on some photo editing from a shoot I was hired to do for a portfolio, but my head just wasn't in it. So now I'm killing the minutes surfing around on the internet when my cell finally rings, causing a quick drop in my gut. Seeing Jace's name on the screen, I take the call that I should have never sought. "Hey," I say quietly. "Hey, man. I just got back to my apartment. Sorry it took so long to call. I had to take Kimber back home." "So you got her dropped off?" "Yeah. She should be boarding now." "How was she?" I ask. "Nervous, as expected, but this is what she's been working so hard for, so I know she's excited." Feeling the welling of sadness, I rush off the phone, needing to just drown in this for a while. "Thanks for calling. I'll catch you later," I tell him before hanging up and leaning back in my desk chair as I stare up at the ceiling. I'm completely drained, and to finally have the book closed on this may be what I've been needing. With her on the other side of the country, maybe I can finally let it go. Let go of the hope that died months ago when I woke up to find her gone. The hope I was determined to keep alive when it was already dead. Needing to get out of the house, I start heading upstairs to change my clothes for a run, but as soon as I hit the top step, there's a ringing at my door. I look out the window and see a cab pulling out of my driveway, and when I go back downstairs to open the door, all that hope comes back to life. She's beautiful, even though she's crying as she stands on my doorstep. "What are you doing here? I just got off the phone with Jace. He said he dropped you off at the airport." "I can't go. I'm so sorry, I can't do it." She cries, and with each word I feel the ever-vacant part of my heart filling up. "What do you mean you can't do it?" "Because I love you too much to leave, and I miss you. And I made a huge mistake by leaving you. I'm so sorry." She continues to cry, and I don't even waste a second, pulling her into my arms where she was always meant to be. "Baby, you didn't make any mistakes." "I did, and I know I hurt you, but I'm so sorry. I can't go because I can't leave you. I don't want to leave you." Pulling her inside and taking her to the couch, I feel the weight of what she's doing pile on and tell her, "I can't let you give up on your dream. I can't." "But it's not my dream," she says in her unwavering confessions. "I was just hanging on to it because I was scared to see that it really wasn't what I wanted. It's you. It's always been you." Covering her lips with mine, I hold on to her as she climbs onto my lap, straddling her legs across me, and gives me what I've been dying for. I kiss her hard, in disbelief that this is even happening. "I've missed you so much, babe," I tell her when I pull back and look into her eyes. "You have no fucking idea." "I love you. I'm so sorry I've been so stupid and wasted all this time when all I really wanted was to be here with you." "You have nothing to be sorry for. I fucked up. I hurt you, and you'll never know how much I regret it." "I don't blame you, Ryan. I did, but I don't anymore. I just want to be with you." Her words mend all that was broken inside of me, and I cling to each one, desperate for this, and tell her, "I don't ever want to lose you again." "You won't. I'm yours." That's all I need to hear. I don't give a shit that it took her this long to realize it because I have her. She's mine. This time when I kiss her, I bring her in slow because I intend on taking my time to make up for all that we lost. With her soft lips pressed against mine, I'm taken back to a place where the pain of losing her doesn't exist. With her hands on my face, I stand, picking her up with me as she loops her legs around me. When I get her upstairs, I lay her down on the bed, needing the smell of her all over my sheets, all over me. Hovering over her, I slip off my shirt, and when I do, she slowly sits up as I rest back on my heels. I watch as she takes her hands and brushes her fingers along my scar. A scar that doesn't even amount to the pain I felt when I lost her. She tilts her head back to look up at me, and I tell her, I couldn't breathe without you. I need you. And so I give her me, every little piece. She doesn't even need to ask, because I've always been hers, even when I tried so hard not to be, to move on and put her in the past. I could never do it because she's always had me. Lying on top of her, I press the weight of myself onto her to feel her softness beneath me. She runs her hands from my wrists, up my arms and to my shoulders before she lets them fall above her head. Comfortable, as if she's saying, have me. Taking the hem of her silk top, I slowly slip it off her body and toss it onto the floor. Everything about her is familiar, and I need the comfort of her as I use my hands to reacquaint, sliding them down her neck, over her lace-covered breasts, and down her stomach. Her breathing quickens along with my pulse as I undo her pants and slide them down her legs. God, her legs. After discarding my pants, I return to her, pulling the sheets over us, needy to trap her heat to me. She slips her arms around my neck when I reach around to remove her bra. The warmth of her naked body with mine, we linger in the moment, touching, kissing, and exploring what we've been missing with each other. I'd go through the ache of these past few months all over again just to be with her like this. Nothing compares to this feeling of peace that she's able to give me. She's the one who allowed me to find myself, and without her, I didn't know who I was. Dragging my head down the length of her, I kiss my way back up her stomach, underneath her breast, and I slide my tongue over her nipple before sucking it into my mouth. Pressing my tongue against her pert bud, she releases a heady breath into the air, moving her body as the passion takes over us. When I reach down, needing to reclaim everything we had taken our time working up to, I gently run my hand between her legs, touching her intimately. She doesn't push me away when she lets go of a soft moan as I feel how ready for me she is. Spreading her legs apart, I settle myself between the heat of her thighs. Gazing at her, naked beneath me, bared to each other, and coming out of the agony that's loomed over us, I see all I'll ever want. God, you're so beautiful. She pulls me down to kiss her, sealing her mouth with mine. Her kisses are deep and purposeful, laced with an intent that settles my heart in hers, filling up the joy that I've been without. She's my happiness. She's the light in my life, and without her, I was lost. But now, having her giving this all back to me, it's elated every part of my soul. We're completely wrapped up in each other as I guide myself inside of her, never breaking our kisses. The connection is intense, both of us claiming the other as our own, but in the most unselfish way a human can, as we give ourselves entirely to the other. Her grip tightens on me, and I push myself deeper inside of her, causing her body to bow up into mine, head pressed into the pillow beneath her. As she rolls her head back, I drag my mouth up her exposed neck before I flip us over and sit up to keep our bodies close, with her legs draped on either side of me. Wrapping my hands around the back of her small shoulders, I press her down on me as she rocks her hips into me in response. When she grabs my shoulders, she begins to slowly roll herself over me. My breathing is heavy as I drop my head down to her chest, kissing and sucking lightly. We move slowly, taking our time with each other. Gripping her bottom, I guide her as she begins to stagger as emotions flood over. She tangles her hands in my hair and looks into my eyes as she begins to cry. But I have no worry because I know she's safe with me. Vulnerable, exposed, but entirely safe in my touch. Our eyes remain locked as I feel her body trembling on top of mine. She rocks her hips over me as she's finding her release, and as my body parallels hers, I reach the peak of my build. Let go, baby. I breathe out, and she drops her head to mine, eyes hooded, tears falling, but they never leave mine. Running my hand up her damp back, she falls apart in my arms, body quaking against mine, and I explode into 1,000 pieces beneath her as our moans fill the room, taking every bit of pleasure we can while we continue to move with each other, my fingers pressing into her delicate skin as she writhes against me. Movements begin to slow, and she kisses me, pressing her face, wet with tears, against mine. The beating of my heart is strong, and my emotions are in overdrive when I focus on what just happened. Making love to the girl I thought I'd lost. It overpowers me as I lay us down, keeping myself buried inside of her. With my lips on hers, we continue to kiss as I hear her whimpers, and I know she feels it too. Babe. Pulling back, she takes her time before choking out. I never want to know what life is without you. You won't ever have to. As I keep her folded up in my arms, she cries, releasing the pain we've been through to get here. I let her get it out, and she eventually grows tired, falling asleep in my arms, the only arms I ever want her to have around her, because it's within them that she will always have a safe place to fall. Chapter 45. When I feel the bed shift, I begin to wake, and as I open my eyes, I catch a glimpse of Candace walking into the bathroom, wearing my t-shirt. I'm not sure what happened to make her heart shift back to me. The whirlwind of emotions when she showed up at my door a few hours ago are now replaced with sated contentment, but also questions. I watch her flick on the light, but she doesn't close the door. She stands there, and it isn't until I step out of bed and walk up to her that I see what she's looking at. I couldn't ever get rid of her things that I kept the day Jace came over to pack up her stuff. I had the necklace repaired, and it has always sat on the sink counter next to her bottle of perfume. I slip my arms around her waist from behind, and she stands there, running her finger along the etched words, and though she be but little, she is fierce. Her eyes meet mine in the reflection of the mirror before I tell her, I could never let you go. I take her necklace and clasp it back around her neck, where it always belonged. Turning around in my arms, she rests her hands on my chest as she hangs her head down, saying, I'm so sorry. Not wanting her to regret a single choice that she has made, I tell her, come here. As I take her back to bed, I sit against the headboard and pull her next to me before asking, what could you possibly be sorry for? Leaving you? Hurting you? She takes in a shaky breath as her emotions get to her, and she tells me, I hated every second I wasn't with you. I wanted to come back. I was just scared. I'm the only one who has something to apologize for. But I get it, she says. It took me a while to see it, but I understand. We sit there for a moment, quiet, with her head rested against me when she finally says, "I feel like I have so many questions." "I know, babe. I never knew we had so many holes." "So let's fill them in," I tell her as she looks up at me. "I don't know where to begin," she says as she shifts down, and I move with her as we lie on our sides under the covers. With her face only inches from mine, I brush her hair back and whisper, "I love you, babe. I don't want there to be any uncertainty about anything between us. You can ask me anything, and I swear I'll tell you whatever you want to know. But I also feel like I have missing pieces of you that I need." She nods her head and closes her eyes when she softly says, "I didn't know anyone was there that night. That anyone saw me like that." When she opens her eyes, she asks, "What happened?" I know we both need to hash everything out, and as hard as this conversation may get, it's one that needs to happen. I'll spend days in this bed with her, filling in all the blanks, just so we can have nothing between us but fleshed-out honesty. "I was working late that night," I begin as I hold her hand that's rested between our chests, because I know this is going to be difficult for her to hear. "I heard noises outside but ignored it. There are so many people who cut through the back lot, and I figured it was just some drunken college kids." I take a moment as the guilt creeps in and then confess, "I'm so sorry. You were out there the whole time and I just ignored it." The pain of my words to her is something I don't think I will ever be able to get rid of. She's silent as tears begin to roll off the side of her face. Wiping them away, I continue. "It wasn't until I heard you screaming that I ran out. I swear I moved as fast as I could, but by the time I made it out..." I'm scared to continue because I don't know if I should say anything else, knowing how bad this will hurt her to hear. "Baby, are you sure you want to hear this?" "I feel like I need to." Her hand is tightly clenched around mine when she asks, "What did you see?" Letting out a sigh, I reveal, "You were naked and covered in blood and dirt." I choke around the words, and she begins to whimper as she tries to hold in her cries. "He had his hand between your legs, and you were screaming. Then all of a sudden, he punched you in the side of your head and knocked you out. It all happened so fast. In a second, I pulled him off of you and beat the shit out of him, but I couldn't hold on to him and he fled. I stayed with you." "While I was naked?" she asks out of embarrassment. "I had covered you up with my shirt, but I saw your tattoo. That's how I knew the connection." "How did you not know before?" "I thought it could be you, but I had such a hard time after seeing what I did that I just figured my head was playing with me. Trying to trick me into thinking it was you," I tell her. "When I saw you the first time at your work, it was my initial thought. The girl from that night was so tiny, and so was the girl in the coffee shop. Max tried telling me my mind was just trying to put closure to everything." "Max knows?" Nodding my head, I gently tell her, "Yeah, babe, he does." I had told him about what happened at the bar because he was head of security and needed to know. And then I told him about the girl in the coffee shop because I was really screwed up about it. I never thought I'd fall in love with you. It wasn't like I told him behind your back. He just always knew everything. Then once I saw your tattoo and put it together, we never spoke about it again. And I swear we never have." "God," she breathes out. "I'm so embarrassed." "Babe, you have nothing to be embarrassed about." I try telling her, but I know my words are weak in comparison to her feelings about this. It's humiliating, Ryan. Running my hand through her hair, I say, "You're the most beautiful person I've ever met. No one could even come close to how genuine you are, and I swear to you, that's all people see when they look at you, including Max." "Does anyone else know?" "Only my mom." "Why would you tell her?" she cries, mortified. "She heard us when we were at her house, and you were upset, telling me that you blamed yourself for what happened. She thought we were fighting. I was upset after you fell asleep, and we were talking downstairs. Again, she knew about what I saw before I ever met you, and I felt like I needed someone to talk to. I probably never should have said anything to her, but my own guilt about not getting to you faster was eating away at me. And then seeing how hurt you were, thinking it was your fault, it killed me." I hold her close as she wraps her arm around my neck, clinging on to me as I continue to hold her hand. "All I ever wanted to do was protect you, and the one moment you needed me the most, I let you down. If only I would have gone out there when I first heard the noises, but I didn't. And I'm so sorry, babe." I take a moment before I tell her, "I couldn't stop thinking about you and what had happened after the ambulance took you to the hospital." She loosens her hold around my neck and wipes her face as she takes a deep breath. "I know I shouldn't ask," I say, "but what happened that night?" "It was a mess," she quickly responds, and then takes a pause before she continues. "I didn't even like him, and I had only gone out with him that night so that I could talk to him." Never letting go of my hand, she tells me, "There was a party at his frat house, and he had gotten mad at me for leading him on. He had thrown me into a wall and pinned me against it. We fought, and I ran out, but he drove me, and I didn't have my phone, so I—" She trails off, and I suddenly feel bad for asking her. "You don't have to tell me." "I need to." "Why?" She drops her head before she eventually brings it back up, telling me, "My therapist keeps telling me I should talk about it." I don't say anything else. I just keep her tucked into me when she finally starts to speak again, and I listen as she tells me how he chased her down, beat the shit out of her, and raped her. Hearing her tell me the hell he put her through is gut-wrenching. I don't know how anyone could ever come out of something like that without an insane amount of damage. Knowing how violent he was with her makes me want to hide her away forever, but I can't do that. So I lie here and cry for her, for everything that little shit took away from her. "Were you going to press charges? Is that why you were talking to that detective?" I ask after a while. "Maybe. I don't know. I never planned on it. But then when I was packing, I came across his card he had given me in the hospital. I guess I was more curious than anything," she explains. "After all of this, if he were still alive, do you think you would?" "Would you think I was weak if I said no?" "Baby, there's nothing about you that I find weak," I tell her. Of course I would want her to fight and press charges, but I'm not the one who was stripped of all my trust, so I understand the need to avoid it. Who'd want to go back and relive what she had to endure? She fights in her own quiet way. Most probably don't even see it. I didn't used to, but I do now. I roll onto my back, and she shifts her head into the crook of my arm. "When did you start seeing a therapist?" "A couple days after you came by to talk to me. I was so miserable. I didn't know what else to do." Kissing the top of her head, I tell her, "I'm glad you have someone you can talk to. You think it's helping? I think so. I mean, she's helping me see things a little clearer. We've been focusing on my anxiety and pointing out my triggers. She wants me to put myself in situations that tend to make me panic. I've tried a couple of times, but it's hard, she says. It's gonna be, but it'll get easier, babe. She wants me to stop taking my sleeping pills. I run my hand up her arm and around her shoulder, asking, "Are you going to?" I told her I wasn't ready. She said she wouldn't push it, but that I should think about it. I know you're scared, but they're just dreams. Dreams that feel completely real. And stress always triggers all that stuff, and with everything that's been going on, graduation, packing, the production, it was all too much. I know. You don't have to explain. I get it, I tell her. But what about New York? What about it? Turning to look at her, I say, "You don't have to give it up. I'll go with you. It's not a big deal. I was already planning on moving anyway." What? She questions, confused. It's one of the main reasons why I replaced Michael with Max at the bar. I figured you'd be moving, and there was no way I wasn't going with you. Why didn't you ever say anything? I didn't want to stress you out. You had so much going on. I kept waiting for you to bring it up, but you never did, so I just started getting everything worked out on my end, I tell her as she shakes her head. I had no idea. I let out a light laugh and say, "You didn't think I'd let you leave without me, did you?" Honestly, I didn't know. I didn't bring it up because I was scared I would have to leave without you. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I wouldn't be able to leave you, she admits. But I'm going to stay here. I called Pacific Northwest Ballet. I had originally turned down their offer, but I called them when I left the airport, and the spot is still mine. I go in on Monday to sign all the papers. You don't have to do that. You can still have New York. I'm not ready for it, she says softly. I thought I was, but I think I was just forcing it, to prove to myself that I could go there on my own and be okay. But I need to be here. This is my home, with you, Jason, Mark, and everything that I'm used to, she tells me. I want to get better, and I want to do that here, where I have the support. Are you sure? I'm not saying no to New York. I'm just saying no for right now. I finally let go of her hand to cup her face before bringing her to my lips. She holds on to my wrists as I move my lips over hers, giving her only a couple long and slow kisses before pulling back and saying, I love you so much. She runs her hand behind my neck and whispers, I love you too, before our lips meet again. But before I can lose myself in her, she pulls away. Oh my God, she draws out. What's wrong? All of my stuff, everything, is already in New York. I've got to call the landlord for my apartment there. I shipped everything last week. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of all that. Did you have luggage? I ask. Yeah, I had already checked it, she says with worry. I'll call the airlines. Don't stress about it. We'll get everything shipped back, I tell her. But I'm not letting her move back in with Kimber. I have her here with me, and I don't want any more space between us, so I add, but babe, when I arrange everything, I'm having it shipped here. She nods her head, not picking up on what I'm saying, so I clarify, here to my loft. When I see her pinch her eyebrows together, I say, I want you here, with me. Move in? Yeah, move in. I don't want to be apart from you. The smile that grows on her lips is beautiful. and I can't help myself when I kiss her. God, I missed that smile, I say. It's been too long. So that's it? She questions. That's it, I give her. I want this to be your home, here with me. She wraps her body around me, hugging me close when she whispers in my ear, Thank you. For what? Everything? After talking everything out this afternoon, Candace was drained and had a headache, so I gave her some aspirin, and she's been upstairs sleeping for the past hour. I go ahead and make all the phone calls to arrange for her belongings to be shipped back here. Her luggage should be at the airport tomorrow morning, so at least she'll have her clothes. It's amazing how quickly everything can change. 1 minute, I thought I'd lost her, and the next, she's back here and agreeing to move in with me. But I don't want to waste any more time. I want to pick up where we left off, and it seems she wants the exact same thing. When I notice the sun starting to set, I call in an order for dinner at the little Italian place down the street that Candace likes so much, figuring she could use a solid meal after the day she's had. As I set the phone down, I hear a ringing from Candace's purse that's lying on the coffee table. I pull out her phone and answer it when I see that it's Jace calling. Hey. Ryan? He asks. Yeah. Sorry, man. I thought I was calling Candace, but accidentally dialed you, he says. No, this is Candace's phone. Huh? She's here, I tell him, and I know he's completely thrown off when he questions, What do you mean she's there? After you called me this morning, she showed up at my door. She didn't get on the plane. She's been here ever since. What happened? Is she not going? Sitting down on the couch, I tell him, No, she's staying. She took the spot at PNB. Is she happy? She's happy, I say before letting him know. She's moving in. With you? Yeah. He takes a pause before saying, I knew she'd make the right choice. Laughing, I say, She nearly destroyed me in the process. He begins to laugh with me and then asks, Can I talk to her? She has a headache and is sleeping right now. Just have her give me a call later, okay? No problem. I'm really happy you guys worked things out. It wasn't the same without you. Thanks, man. You've been a really good friend to me. No thanks needed. You guys have a good night and give her a kiss for me? I didn't know what I was going to do without her. Me neither. Talk to you later, I say before we hang up. Walking upstairs, I step into the bedroom and look at the only love I ever want to know, curled up in my sheets. She's peaceful and quiet as she sleeps. She needs this after the emotional day she's had. We spent hours in this bed, hashing everything out, filling in all the gaps, and settling all the questions. But it needed to happen. And finally, for the first time, everything feels whole. Chapter 46. Candace and I finally drag ourselves downstairs for some much-needed coffee after making love all morning. I'll never get my fill of her, and I made sure she knew that. She's a little needy this morning, but I like that. I've missed that. Her need to have me close. It's to be expected with everything going on, so I hold her hand as we walk downstairs and into the kitchen. All I have is milk, babe. We'll have to stop by the store to get you your creamer and stock up on groceries. When did you get this? She questions, and when I look over to her, she's checking out the cappuccino machine. My mom. She got it for my birthday. Birthday? Grabbing the milk to pour into her coffee, I say, Yeah. When was your birthday? She asks as I hand her the mug and head over to the couch. Last month, May 19th. Oh, she says with a twinge of sadness. Babe, don't let it bother you. It's really not a big deal. Taking her eyes off of her mug, she looks up at me as she rests her back against the arm of the couch and says, It does bother me. I feel like I've missed so much time with you. You weren't missing much. Nothing happened. Everything was literally in slow motion the whole time. I still feel bad that I wasn't here for your birthday. Setting my coffee down on the end table, I take hers as well, setting it aside as I pull her over to me and fold her in my arms. None of that matters. Just forget it, okay? I can't just forget it. Would it make you feel better if I told you that I was with you on your birthday? She pops her head up and stares at me with question. What do you mean? I saw you the night before, I tell her. I went to see you dance. You were there? Nothing would have kept me from seeing you that night. I tell her and then kiss her forehead. You were amazing. I couldn't take my eyes off of you. I didn't think you were there. I saw your mom afterward, but I had no clue. You saw my mom? Yeah. I ran into her as I was leaving. She never told me that, I say, but then remember telling my mom that we weren't going to mention Candace again. I never gave her a chance to tell me. I felt awful. Why? What did she say? All the right things, but it was hard to see her because I was missing her. She drove all that way, and then I told her that I needed space. It just hurt too much, she explains. I know she wasn't expecting anything. She just really wanted to see you dance. I told her not to come, but she insisted. I miss her, she says as she rests her head on my shoulder. I feel like I should apologize or something. For what? I ask with a light chuckle. You didn't do anything, babe. If anyone should be apologizing, it's me. So stop thinking that you did something wrong, because you didn't. She nods her head, unconvinced, but I don't push. Instead, I offer, why don't we go visit her in a couple of weeks for 4th of July weekend? Her smile shows off her dimple when she says, I'd like that. I'll give her a call later today. Speaking of calls, I need to call Kimber. My car is at her parents' house. We should probably go pick it up today. I'm gonna go grab a shower, so why don't you call her, and we can pick it up after we go to the airport to get your bags. I don't have any clothes, she tells me. Maybe Jace can bring me some. Crap! What? I was supposed to call Jace when I got to New York last night. He doesn't know I'm here. She panics. He does. I talked to him yesterday when you were napping. I just forgot to tell you. You talked to him? What did he say? Giving her a smirk, I tell her. He said he was glad you made the right choice. She pokes me in the ribs as she whines. No, he didn't. I swear he did. I laugh and then stand up. Make your phone calls. I'm gonna go get ready. Once I'm out of the shower and dressed, Candace walks into the room and says, Jace is on his way. Did you get in touch with Kimber? Flopping down on the bed, she says, Yeah, her parents aren't home, but she gave me the code to the garage, in a dull voice. Walking over to the bed, I look down at her and ask, What's wrong? She just doesn't get it. Get what? Candace sits up and tells me. She said that I was throwing everything away. She was annoyed when I told her I wasn't going to move back in with her. It's just hard because she doesn't know you. All she saw was how upset I was when we weren't together. She knows that you kept that secret from me, but she doesn't know how far I've come this year and that it was mostly because of you. She never saw how bad it was. And now all she has is this tainted idea of you. Maybe she just needs time to get to know us together. But I feel like she doesn't even know me. We used to be close, but so much has happened this year, and she wasn't around, she says. She drops her head when she admits, I'm not the same person. I wish I could be, but I'm just not. That's not a bad thing, like I know you're thinking it is. The cause of it is the only thing that's bad. But it's like I told you before. There isn't a damn thing about who you are now that you should be ashamed of. You're perfect to me, I tell her, and I can see that she still struggles with this concept, but I'll keep reminding her every day if I have to. We're interrupted when the doorbell rings, and Candace jumps off of the bed, saying, Jace is here, as she flies down the stairs. When I make it to the top of the stairs, she is already in his arms. I smile at the sight of her as I start making my way down. So what the hell happened after I dropped you off? He asks her as I take the bag out of his hand and set it by the stairs. I realized that all my worries about leaving were more about my fears of losing Ryan than they were of moving to New York, she tells him as she sits on the couch, and I walk over to join her. So now what? He asks as he takes a seat in the chair. I'm gonna sign with PNB on Monday. So, no New York? Not right now, she says. I feel like I need more time here where I'm comfortable. I just want to put the past few months behind me and have things settled again. You talked to Kimber? A little bit ago. She didn't seem happy that I was moving in here, Candace responds as I slip my arm around her. I think she just feels left out of everything. All of us have been through a lot, and she wasn't around. And let's face it, she has a skewed perception of Brian, and she barely even knows Mark. And now Mark and I are about to move in together, and you and Ryan are too. She's just kinda out of the loop. You're moving in with Mark? I ask, having had no clue, and both Candace and Jace give me a look as if I should already know this. Why are you looking at me like that? I thought you knew, Jace says. How would I have known if you didn't tell me? Sorry, I guess with everything going on, I just never brought it up, he says. That's great, man. I just didn't know, that's all. Candace gives me a smile and then turns back to Jace and says, Anyways, I'm just not really sure where we stand. I suggested that maybe we should all get together so Kimber can get to know me. You and Mark should be there too, though, I tell him. That's probably the best thing to do at this point, Jay says as he looks to Candace. Okay, then. I'll call her later and see when she's free. Jace leans back in the chair and lets out a long breath, saying, I'm relieved, girl. She lets out a giggle when she asks, Why? Because I hated the thought of not having you here. I've been a mess, and Mark has been stuck dealing with me. Mark isn't stuck. He loves you. Still, I'm just glad that you're staying and that you're happy. Candace looks over to me and then back to Jace, saying, Me too. After picking up her car and getting her luggage at the airport, we stopped by the storage unit Candace had rented to keep all the stuff that she wouldn't have had room for in her apartment in New York. She doesn't need much since I have everything she could possibly want already at my place, but we picked up a couple of boxes, and now we are shifting things in my room so that all of her belongings have a place. She's in the closet, hanging up her clothes, when I hear, Ryan! Rushing in, I see her sitting on the floor, pulling out the canvas from behind the clothes where I had been hiding it. When she looks up at me, she says, I thought someone bought this. I lean against the doorframe and tell her, It was me. I bought it. As she shakes her head, I say, Did you really think I would let that hang in anyone's house but my own? But why is it shoved back here? Walking over, I sit down next to her and look at the picture that I haven't seen in a long time and say, Because it hurt too much to look at. It only reminded me of everything I lost. I look at her and slide the picture back against the wall before I kiss her. leaning into her as she lowers herself to the floor. Grabbing onto my face, she pushes me back slightly when she says, "I can't believe you bought it." I press my lips into hers, dipping my tongue in to caress hers as she fists my hair in her hands. Our lips move slowly together as she pulls my weight wholly on top of her. She keeps me close, running her hands underneath my shirt and up my back. We move slowly as we lie on the floor of the closet, her clothes strewn everywhere in the midst of combining our belongings, making this place ours. We spend the rest of the evening situating her things, but before it gets too late, I tell Candace, "I'm going to give my mom a call." She acknowledges me as she continues to move things around, and I take a seat in the chair by the window while I call. "Hey, Mom. How are you?" "Actually, I'm really good," I tell her, and when I turn, I catch Candace grabbing her pajamas as she mouths to me, "I'm gonna take a shower." I give her a nod as my mom says, "Well, that's good to hear." "I have some news I think you'll like." I goad and she falls into it, saying, "Don't keep me in the dark. Tell me." Candace is back. She's moving in with me. "What? How did that happen?" she asks in total shock. "She showed up here yesterday and we talked everything out." "And she's moving in?" "She is moved in," I clarify as I look at all of her things scattered around the room. "That was quick." "It feels like it took forever," I joke. "You know what I mean," she says. "How is she?" "Good. I think we're just both so worn out, but I was calling to see what your plans were for the 4th. "No plans, really. Why?" "Candace and I want to come down for a few days. I know she misses you." "Of course," she exclaims. "I miss her too. Is she around for me to talk to?" "She's in the shower, but I'll have her give you a call tomorrow." "So, how are you feeling about all of this?" she asks in a more serious tone. Like this was how it was always supposed to be, having her here with me. I felt completely lost without her, and now it just feels right again. "I'm so happy for you, dear. For both of you." When I hear the water shut off, I say, "Thanks, Mom. I'll talk to you later, okay?" "Love you." "You too." I walk over and grab her empty luggage off the bed and take it downstairs to store in the guest bedroom closet before heading back upstairs. Slipping into bed, I don't have to wait too long before Candace comes out and crawls under the sheets with me. As she lets out a heavy sigh, she says, "I'm exhausted. It was a long day, huh?" "Too long," she says with a breathy laugh. "So, my mom said we could come out for a visit. She's anxious to see you. I told her you would call tomorrow." "Oh, Seeing the hesitation on her face, I ask, "What?" She inches down and lays her head on the pillow, and I do the same as we face each other. Reading her eyes, I ask, "What's going on?" "It didn't feel weird to me until you called her." "Is that why you rushed in to take a shower?" I watch as her eyes drop and I ask, "Tell me what makes this feel weird?" She moves her eyes up to mine when she says, "Because she knows." "Knows what?" "What you told her about what happened. To me." Pulling her in close, I tell her, "Please don't let it make you feel weird. You know a lot of her secrets too, babe." "But she doesn't know that. It's awkward because I'm aware that she knows this about me." "I'm sorry." "I hate that people know," she mumbles as she rests her forehead against my chest while I run my hands down her back. Leaning down, I kiss the top of her head. I'm sorry, I told her. She cuts me off, looking up at me and saying, "Don't be sorry. I'm not mad about it. Just embarrassed." She quickly moves her fingers to my mouth to keep me from talking, adding, "And I know you're going to tell me to not be embarrassed, but there's no way around it. I just am." I kiss her fingers and then take her hand, holding it against me. She loves you. She has her own past that I know is embarrassing to her. She never wanted anyone to know either. That's all I'm going to say. I tell her lightly and then put an end to all of the talking for some much-needed kissing. Chapter 47. "She's living with you?" Max questions before laughing and saying, "This from the guy who once gave me shit for Tracy moving in with me." "Go ahead, man, get your laughs in, but I don't give a shit." "I know you don't," he says. "I'm really happy for you. I was getting tired of your broody side." Packing up my things, I let out a chuckle when I say, "Me too." "You guys should come over. I know Tracy would like the company. She's going a little crazy being at home every day." "Yeah, that sounds good. I'll talk to Candace and call you. I gotta run, though. She signed all of her contracts today with that ballet company, and I want to be there when she gets home." I tell him, and I start heading out. "See ya." When I get back to the loft, Candace's car is already there, and when I walk in, she's finishing up a phone call. I don't wait as I go to her and pull her in for a hug, lifting her off the floor. "Okay, thanks. I'll see you then," she says, and then hangs up before kissing me. "How did everything go?" I ask when I set her down. "Good. I start tomorrow." "That soon?" Smiling at me, she says, "Yeah. Auditions for the first performance run are in August." "You're gonna have to explain how all this works, babe, because I don't know the first thing about what your job is going to look like." We walk over to take a seat in the living room, and I reach out to set her on my lap as she explains, "Okay, so basically a season runs from September to June. I'll have typical rehearsals throughout the week with about 5 to 7 performance runs that I'll have to audition for. Performance runs are around 2 weeks long with matinees and evening shows. Normally they have a 2-month run around the holidays, but they cast 2 dancers for each role to divide up the schedule, so I'll have some time off for Christmas, hopefully." "You seem excited." "I am, but I'm mostly nervous. Most of these girls have done their apprenticeships up there and already know each other. I'm the only one coming from a university," she tells me. "You'll be fine," I assure her. "I'm so happy for you, babe." I kiss her dimple when she smiles and then ask, "Who were you talking to when I came in?" "Oh," she says as she sits up, looking a little flustered. That was Dr. Christman, my therapist. I needed to get back on her schedule, but, What is it?" I ask when she starts hesitating. "Well, I told her what happened with the whole New York thing and moving in with you. She suggested that maybe you could come in with me for my next appointment, but you can say no," she says timidly, avoiding my eyes. "Why would I say no?" I question. I've never done the whole therapy thing, but for her, I'd do anything. "Because it's embarrassing," I answer for her. "I know you're sick of hearing that, but I can't help it." "I'm not sick of hearing it, babe. I get it. You just tell me when, and I'll be there," I say, trying not to make too big of a deal about it for her. Switching the subject, she tells me, "I invited Kimber to come over Friday night." "Jason Mark coming over too?" "Yeah, if that's okay. I should have asked first." "This is your home, Candace. You don't need to ask me if you want to have your friends over. It's fine," I tell her. "Max invited us over to hang out as well." "What about Gavin?" she asks out of the blue. "What do you mean?" "You still talk to him?" I haven't seen him in a while. I think that friendship is dead. We're just on totally different wavelengths, I explain. When did that happen? When he kept trying to sling chicks at me when all I wanted was you, I tell her as I run my fingers through her hair. She looks uncomfortable when her only response is, "Oh." And knowing her so well, I go ahead and answer her unspoken question. No. I couldn't even bear to look at another girl. You were all I ever wanted.